which sounds terribly egotistical, but I've approached some of the artists who are in the... Oh, what's happening there? Jesus. Shift F9, isn't it? Shift F8 or Shift F9?
Just unplug it and plug it back in. That always works for me.
Because I did a previous connected presentation.
See, I'm a technician.
Yeah, you're good. I'm going to hire you. Okay, so I've put this together as a sort of what can I say? Once I was in the APS and I was in the AIPP, and I resigned from both of those organisations for various reasons. If you're in the APS and you score enough points, like 120 points in a year, you get a lapse. And I'm thinking, shit, is that a lapsed Catholic or what is it? And if you're in the AIPP and you get 120 points, you get an AIPP. And people go, what are you talking about? You've got to explain the relationship, right? So what I did was I resigned from the APS and I started my own personal project, which was to get my work out into galleries which were collecting works for their collections. And so off I went. And I've been collected by the Queensland Art Gallery, by the Sydney, New South Wales Art Gallery, Muswellbrook obviously, Maitland maybe not, obviously Tweed, and so I've got my work in quite a significant number of things. And so I sort of thought to myself, what I want to talk to you today about is how you can ease yourself into the wonderful world of art, completely different, absolutely completely different to the crap that Tim does all the time, and just bores us bloody stupid.
I'm green with Roger because I would seriously love to be collected like that. I am, I mean that.
Mate, if you do the right thing in the Mullins Conceptual Photography Prize 2024, you will be collected for the Muswellbrook Shire collection, I assure you. Okay, so this is Voice Of, 1988. I made this. TV was on the wrong channel, you've probably seen this before. But so the colours were all distorting. We're on the ABC, we're on the 7:30 report, and the colours were distorting, and it came to me as I was putting it together. Do we trust the press? Can we trust the press? Now, this is in 1988, before fake news even arrived on the scene. And so it's a portent of what was actually going to happen. So I put it in Scone Art Prize and I won first prize, which was $1,000, which wasn't bad, still good money today. And also Max Waters, who is a local artist and collector, bought it for his collection. So that was $350 I got for going into Max's collection.
What year was that, Roger?
Sorry?
What year was that?
88.
88.
So, you know, it's just a spring chick.
25 years ago, that's all. No, 35.
And, yeah, I was going to say, and some. And so this one here is called As Spring Comes Briefly in Franny's Garden, and these are quite simply snapdragons. But again, what I'm doing is same as Voice Of. I'm using making multiple images to make one image. Okay, and so I'm actually stepping outside of the normal zone, like all that stuff in the room next door, where we've got single images, and you hang by a single image, and you actually put them together, and so you make something else completely different. And so that won second prize in the McGregor Prize for Photography at the University of Queensland, University of Southern Queensland, I beg your pardon.
And everyone's going to, I'm talking for everyone now, because I guess...
You can be chair for the meeting, mate.
Let's go back, Roger, for a sec.
No.
Okay, don't go back. So, out of interest, do most people look at that of the flowers and go, with all respect, and you know I love you, that's crap, and it's not one crap photo, but it's 28 crap photos. No, I'm being straight up, and I want to encourage a thought. I don't think they're crap.
They make a single image that wins money, and I'm all about it.
I know that. I
Back
know
pocket,
that
man.
you're all about. No, but I just think it's important that people...
I'm going to have to take my top off and get hot.
I think it's fantastic, Rod. Sorry, I'm going to shut up and say.
People like Mr. Oliver. Sorry?
I think 28 good photos in the last one.
Great, that's fantastic. No, it's good.
And so did I. They rang me and said, are you coming up? And I sort of thought, they're talking between the lines here. So I said, I'm packing my toothbrush. Went up and got me 15 minutes of fame. This one here, we're jumping right off the track. David Oliver calls this my quirky photography. What we've got here is we've got 2 x-rays of my chest. I was in Maitland Private Hospital a couple of years ago, I had my prostate taken out, and then I got a clot on the left lung, which really, really hurt. So they sent me off, got all these x-rays and all that kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I stuck them up on the windows in my, well, I call it my studio. It was room 55 in Walswood, great room. And then I thought of Ed Keenholz, an American guy who used to make these what's this called, State Hospital, Ed Keenholz. And what we've got here is Robert Hughes, who wrote a bit of a treatise on this, we've got these two models that are on a double bunk. They can't get to the chamber pot because they're chained onto the bed. This one here is dreaming of the exact same misery of the patient in the bed above. And so that came to me when I was doing this work, and I sort of thought to myself, because over here, I haven't got a pointer, but over there, that's another wing of the hospital, and I thought to myself, are those poor buggers over in that room there going through the same crap that I'm going through, you know, catheter and all that kind of nonsense. It was just appalling, just horrible. So we're going to beam off. We're going to talk about David Hockney. And this is called Ian Swimming in Los Angeles. And what he's doing here is he's using Polaroids, and again, he's making a single image from multiple images. So if you've got 15 single images, you can put them out onto a mat board, and then you can step out of the photography. One image hangs off everything. No, forget that. Go off and do other stuff and think about what you're actually doing. And this is his mother. And again, these are all Polaroid. No, these might be 6:4, doesn't matter. And so he's exploded his mother, and so he's actually photographing her, and he knows how he's going to put it together while he's actually photographing it. So it's pretty important if you think about this as a basic technique. I'm going to talk about David Moore. Most people know who he is. It's called Grass, Hill and Clouds at Beltree Station. And what he's doing here is he's abstracting, right? He's leaving stuff out. Less is always will be more. David Moore. And this one here becomes an even more shrill example of landscape observation. Grazing paddocks at Beltrees and up near Scone. And so he's actually leaving stuff out. He is abstracting. And so if you start to leave stuff out, you're not interested in steam coming out of a steam train or, you know, some girl there going, or whatever. You're actually thinking about abstracting and leaving stuff out. And this shot here is sort of like a combination of multiple imaging in one image and a single image. So this is a charity we all know, but we've got about 11 heads there, and they all come together in one shot, but it's actually using multiple imaging in one image, and so that's even more successful. Yeah, Western Distributor Forms number 2, good old David, quite simply looking up at the piers in the Western Distributor before the roadway went on. That's image number 1, and then we go from there. And here he's got 9 images on a piece of mat board. Now I'm going to throw to Tim here because Tim took his portfolio out to David Moore when David was still alive. And David's visited my place, and David said that my darkroom was perfect. Dry bench, rotate on the heel, wet bench. So that's my throw to David Moore. And Tim, you.
When I was 20 years old, when I was 18, I started as a cadet press photographer at Sydney Morning Herald. And in 1980, they had a big union strike, and I was going to go to London to learn photography from more people. Anyway, before I went, I rang David Moore, who lived in North Sydney, down the end of Blues Point Road, just off to the left, and I took my portfolio to see him as a 20-year-old guy, and he had a lovely terrace house there, and he was cutting up surplus prints into thin strips and assembling them as a photo. So again, many images make a photograph, not like this though. Anyway, he looked at my work and said I needed to specialise and be more focused on one area of work. But yeah, as a 20-year-old guy, he let me come and see him.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. I'd totally forgotten until we talked about it the other day.
But he was a really down home guy. He was really wonderful.
Totally regular guy.
Yeah, yeah. Not up there in the clouds. Okay. So that's one from my collection. This is called The Kids Show by Mickey Allen, and what we've got here is we've got multiple images making one image, but the difference here is that it's been hand coloured.
Oh, that's
so
right.
she was reverting back to the fact that back in the old days, women were most often women were employed to hand paint photographs, and so yeah, it's pretty sweet. Here's this is one of Tim's idols, Len Metcalf.
Oh, that's a nice one of Len's though. That's because that's not so literal. I like that.
So do I.
Is that multi-printed or multi-shot?
No idea. I don't ask. I mean, I'll buy something for the collection because I like it. And okay, I do chase the names a little bit, but
What was Len's background? What did he do?
He's always taught photography.
He's a teacher all his life.
Yeah, yeah.
And is he from up here?
Katoomba originally.
Katoomba.
Yeah, I know you don't like Katoomba, but you know.
No, I love Katoomba. No, I love Katoomba.
It's another one of Len's from our collection. It's called Narooma. And as I was saying to Tim, like, I don't ask people about their technique because I'm not really interested. I'm interested in my own technique, whatever that is, but I'm not going to say, can you tell me how you actually do this? Because I think that sort of explodes the myth, if you like. This is Morag Loken, girlfriend. When I say a girl, she's a woman from Canberra. And this is called Eucalyptus Reimagined. These are eucalyptus bark photos. You think about that for about 4 seconds and you just think, this is eucalyptus bark. This girl is onto something else. She is just a stunner. And she hides her light under a bushel. She's frightened, she's scared. She's 58 and she should be out there and doing it. And I don't know why she's not, and I'm trying to encourage her. Because I think these are just gorgeous. This one's a little bit dull, but they are gorgeous things, just gorgeous. I mean, look at that. That's eucalyptus bark. What the hell? How do you do that? And she started to tell me, she said, oh, I rotate them, and I thought, okay, stop there. And I rotated some of my photos and it didn't look anything like hers, so I gave up, as you do. It's another mate of mine, Bruce Crowther, who's from Caringbah, and it was a curve upon a distant beach, and Bruce and I have sort of reconnected after years and years and years, and he's doing sort of like abstracts in the landscape, but different to David Moore's, where actually we've got movement in the photograph. And this one here is a day at the beach again by Bruce, and I don't know what's going on here. It might be intentional camera movement, I don't know, and I don't care, and I don't ask, because I'm not interested. I just love the work, and so it comes into the collection for that reason. This little girl, like I sent her a message last night and saying, listen, I'm using this in the presentation tomorrow. What's it called? She said, I don't know, so it still remains untitled, but she loves light. Lyndall Gerlach is a superb worker in light. She'll photograph a corner in a room like that. See these here? Look at that. Whoa. There's a photo there. Absolutely gun photo. Oh, turn your phone off. And even boring old Max, you know, he's abstracting and yet we're seeing the real world. So this is Elizabeth Bay House, and we're looking up at the cupola, and we can see the banister, we can see the cupola, but again, it's still abstract. And so you've got to think about leaving stuff out. Don't give us everything warts and all, you know, 100%, no escape. I like the pelican, right? Forget the pelican. This is Mika Boynton, a photographer from down in Victoria, and I started to fall in love with her work a few years ago. And I thought, well, I tried to buy 4 of Emily Burston's work, and so I've got 4 of Mika's now. It's called Evidence of Man, and it's probably an aerial shot. She photographs out of an aeroplane, not with a drone. Well done, Mika. I've got a drone. And this is another one of hers, Night Magic. And again, I don't know how it's done at all, but it's just a beautiful. These prints are this big. They're beautiful. They are stunningly beautiful. And they're all in the Muswellbrook Regional Arts Centre at the moment, because that's where I'm sending everything that goes into my collection goes to the Arts Centre. Of course, that's what happens when I cark it. This is one by my little brother Ian, and this was the winner in 2001 of the Mullins Conceptual Photography Prize, and we're going to head off into that. It's called Ashcape. It was taken down at Gorilla Bay after the fires in 2019, and then we had all that rain, and the rivers purged themselves and washed the ashes up onto the beach. And so he's made this landscape, and it's about 2.5 metres long. And so the Mullins Conceptual Photography Prize is about a concept. And so his concept was to show another view of the fires. This is Sammy Hawker, and she won the Mullins Conceptual Prize last year with this photograph called Mount Gulliga. What she does is she shoots 4:5 film, good old film, shoots 4:5 film, and then processes it in water that she gets from the site. And so she dipped the bottles into Lake Walliga, took it home and processed the photograph, and she describes this as being that the mountain is more felt than seen. And you just go, oh, more felt than seen. So that's pretty cool, because the mountain is there, but you can't see it. And that gives me a direct link back to Anthony Moravich's Minefield, which won the Muswellbrook Photographic Award back in the day, when Rose Peel was the adjudicator, and it's an unfixed gelatin silver print. So it's going to go black. And I said to Rose, because I'm organising the Muswellbrook Photographic Awards back in the day, and I said to her, like, you're the senior conservator of works on paper at the New South Wales Art Gallery, and you've given first prize to a photograph that'll turn black. She said, Roger, the image will always be there, but you just won't be able to see it. And that, I had no argument for that. It was just, I was nailed on the wall. And so this is, Kim Percy. She was, these are the first few are favourites of mine from this year's Mullins Conceptual Prize. It's called Sway. There's an artist statement that's as long as 2 arms. But the beauty about this is, and I've been arguing with Peter Eastway about this, because in Muswellbrook back in 2012, we had an exhibition called How Yesterday Remembers Tomorrow. And I was confronted by that because a lot of the images were on TV screens, and I'm just going, bullshit, this is not, no. And I've been arguing with Eastway, and then this girl puts this thing up, and it's in an electronic light box. So when it's not switched on, you can't see the image. You think about Anthony Moravich, you just think about Sammy Hawker, you think about all this stuff that's going on. And I don't know whether Eastway's seen this one yet, but anyway, I'll continue the argument with him. And this one here began as a photogram and then proceeds into camera obscura, and I don't understand the process, but it is beautiful. It's sculptural. It's that wide, by that high, by that deep. And it's got 2 panes of glass in it. There's a pane of glass here and a pane of glass there, but it's sculptural. And so what's happening with the Mullins Conceptual Photography Prize this year is that artists are giving us their concept, not their photograph of a concept like Ian's Ashcape and Sammy's Gulliger. No, they're actually giving us the concept to look at in 3 dimensions, and it's been a game changer. This is the most significant exhibition I've seen in years. This one here, Bourgeois Sharp by Damien Dillon, and what he's done is he's mounted it on a pallet. Photograph stuck on an old pallet, and we've got some painter's tape, good old painter's tape, I love it. And he stuck that down, and it just blows your brain. It just blows your brain. I sort of looked at it and I thought, geez, I hope it doesn't win, because we acquire the work for the collection. We haven't got any space to put stuff like this. It didn't win, so that was okay, but it's still a significant change in the way that we present work to galleries. And you've got to think about galleries and think about getting into them. I'll rush past that one. Whoops, hang on. We'll leave Judith out for the moment. Okay, so this is The Colony Reclaims the Land by Melanie Cobham. This is highly commended. And what she did was she got the negatives. Yeah, negatives again, isn't this wonderful? It's just like the old days. And she stuck the negatives into a termite nest and let the termites go to work for 12 to 18 months. And then at the end we get this result, and we get all this termite shit all over everything. And so she submitted it, and it was highly commended and well done. She actually came up from Melbourne, flew up from Melbourne for the opening of the show, which was really wonderful. This guy here, Dave Carswell, flocculation number 2. Flocculant's a material you use in coal preparation, where you actually clean the water from that's been through the coal prep plant, and use the flocculation, which actually makes a long chain polymer, so that the polymers join together and they get heavier and they sink to the bottom and they take the dirt with them. This guy buried the negatives, unprocessed negatives, in the estuary of the Tamar River down in sunny downtown Tasmania, and so you get a result of some light penetration, chemical penetration and all that kind of stuff. And so he and Mel are doing what I call earth interaction things, a little bit like Judith Nungala Crispin, where she's relying on happenstance in terms of geologic and earth interactions. And so this is stuff that changes your view on photography. This girl here, her artist statement says that she's not comfortable in her body. And the title doesn't give me any clue at all. I don't always understand selectively mute. Doesn't give me anything at all, but it was a highly commended, and so I put it into this presentation to just sort of show you the diversity of stuff that we're getting in the Mullins Conceptual Photography Prize. Okay, so this is Sunkiss number 1, number 2, number 3 and number 4 by Chris Bowes, a Melbourne photographer, and this won $25,000 in this year's Mullins Conceptual Photography Prize. And he made a handmade camera, and he exposed it to light at sunrise and sunset, probably that sunrise, I don't know, it doesn't matter. And he made it over a series of days, handmade camera, and he recorded light as light rather than light washing over the landscape. And I just think, man, that's just boing, where does that, and I mean, Tim's left the building because he can't stand my arguments anymore, but I just looked at that and I sort of thought, well, if that doesn't win, I'm going to buy it, because I just thought it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Tim argues that rainbows aren't worth a crap, and so and so that's kind of like about it really. I just sort of thought that, on a final note, yes, I have a saying, more people are excited by the provocative than are comforted by the mundane, and that's my way of saying that if you give something that provokes people, then they go, ooh, and they have a reaction to it, and maybe that might trigger them into an action to do something else and turn around and take that view and take that view. It's like Tim was saying earlier, think about your viewpoints. It was Don, sorry. Think about your viewpoints. And so think about that. Think about the Mullins Conceptual Photography Prize. We're actually, how many APS members are there here? Hands up for the APS members. Minus 3/5 of bugger all, okay, because we're going to give a reduced rate to APS members next year. Well, we think we are. Brian and I have only had a conversation in the car. But we want the APS members to come in on this because we want to say to photographers they need to develop. They need to go beyond step one, click, that's great, I've got it. That whole species can be wiped out now. It doesn't matter, I photographed it and it's all good. Click, I've taken that building can be blown up tomorrow, it doesn't matter, I've got it, who cares? It's a very, very selfish way of operating. Okay, thank you very much. And Brad's going to talk about that.
Here's a pen for you, Mr. Skinner.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much.
I've actually used the other one up.
I'm
So it's just
looking
in
at the
time.
faces out here, and I reckon that probably about 80% of the people you lost about 10 minutes in.
No, it was 15. It was 15. I was watching them.
15? You're a counting them. The idea of this talk is to just for you to stop and think. I went and looked at, I can remember pulling up, Roger was a curator in the Muswellbrook thing, and he said, oh, I'm going to show you an exhibition, and it was the 40 photos taken by the Polish photographer going across the train, it was Ohio grasslands or something. She'd taken the photos with her Nokia phone, and they were flying her out from America, and he said, what do you think of that? And I said, they wouldn't even be on my hard drive. I would have deleted them.
He's talking about Carolyn Good, who's still alive and working in Berlin. And
Yep.
she's a wonderful
Yep,
photographer.
that's it. All right, so we, ladies and gentlemen, are about to have a lunch break. Phil, who is number 18?